Hello students, welcome to Zoology Classroom. In today's session, we are going to discuss about Ostracoderms origin and the salient features of Ostracoderms. Before entering into the topic, let us have a look at the classification of chordata. We know that chordata includes all the animals that possess notochord. When this chordata is classified into two subphyla, one is vertebrata. Another one is a craniata. Vertebrata is also called as craniata also. Why? Because all vertebrates, they possess cranium or skull-like structure. So that's why all the vertebrates are called as craniates also. And whereas these two groups, Urochordata and Cephalochordata, these two collectively are called as acraniates. Why? Because they do not possess any cranium or skull-like structure in their bodies. And these two are also called as invertebrates. Why? Because they do not possess vertebrae also. So vertebrates are the organisms that possess notochord along with vertebrae. But whereas these urochordates and cephalochordates, they possess only notochord, but they do not possess vertebrae. So that's why they are also maybe called as invertebrates, chordates but invertebrates. Why? Because they do not possess vertebrae. So coming to this vertebrata again, so the the subphylum vertebrata is divided into two divisions. One is Anatha and another division is Gnathostomata. So vertebrata is the subphylum, and this Anatha and Gnathostomata, these are the divisions. So the basis for this classification of vertebrates into Anatha division and Gnathostomata division is that presence of jaws. The all vertebrates that do not possess jaws have placed in Anatha division. The vertebrates that possess jaws, that have jaws, have been placed in the division Gnathostomata. So Anatha is also called as jawless vertebrates, and Gnathostomata is also called as jawed vertebrates. And in this Anatha or jawless vertebrates, currently only one class is living, that is Cyclostomata, and in Cyclostomata, we know that hagfishes and lampreys are present. But another class of animals are also come under this Anatha division, that is Ostracodermi. But unfortunately, these Ostracoderms are not living now. So these Ostracoderms are extinct Anathans. So now in today's class, we are going to discuss in detail about how these Ostracoderms were originated and how the what are the salient features or characteristics of these Ostracoderms. So before entering into that major topic or main topic, let us quickly conclude the remaining part of this classification also. So in Gnathostomata, we have two superclasses. One is Pisces or Pisces. Another superclass is Tetrapoda. So all types of fishes have placed under superclass Pisces, and remaining all vertebrates, remaining all jawed vertebrates have placed in Tetrapoda. So Tetrapoda means all these organisms, they possess four legs or four limbs. That's why they are called as Tetrapoda. Coming to Pisces or Pisces, again in Pisces we have three classes. One is Placodermi, second one is Chondrichthyes, and third one is Ostrictis. So this out of these three classes, not only these three classes, another class is also there, that is Acanthodi. Acanthodi is also present there. So this Acanthodi and Placodermi, these are also extinct classes. No single animal from these classes is living now. All these are extinct animals. And this Chondrichthyes and Ostrictis. These are the two classes of fishes living now, or extinct groups. Coming to Tetrapoda, we know that in Tetrapoda we have four classes: Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. And in Mammalia we have different things. So we will discuss about these remaining part in detail in next classes. But today we are going to discuss about this Ostracoderm. So what we have to understand from this thing, from this slide, is that in chordata, okay, we have two groups of invertebrates, or we may call them as acraniata Urochordata and Cephalochordata. These two are craniates. And vertebrata, it is also called as craniata. In craniata, we have jawless fishes and jawed vertebrates. In jawless fishes, we have this Ostracoderms and Cyclostomata. Cyclostomatans are extant or they are living now. Ostracoderms are extinct group of fishes. So from next slide onwards, we are going to discuss details of this Ostracoderm. So coming to the taxonomy of Ostracoderms, so domain is Eukarya, and kingdom is Animalia, phylum Chordata, subphylum Vertebrata, superclass Aenata, and superclass it is also called as division actually, and class is Ostracoderm. So, and introduction to this Ostracoderms. These Ostracoderms, as I have already told, they are jawless fishes, and these are the earliest, and these are the first jawless fishes. Or we can say that these are the first vertebrates, and they lived some 500 million years ago. MYA stands for million years ago. So they lived some 500 million years ago. And the scientists have acquired, or they have received, or they excavated fossils of these Ostracoderms from the late Cambrian and Middle Ordovician rocks. And these Ostracoderms, they were quite abundant during the Upper Silurian period and Devonian periods. And most of these fossils were collected from seabeds. Even though all these Ostracoderm fossils, many of the Ostracoderm fossils have collected from seas, but scientists are believing that the progenitors or the ancestors of these Ostracoderms were freshwater forms living near the estuaries. And Ostracoderms, they resemble the present-day cyclostomes like lampreys and hagfishes in many aspects. So in many features, they will be similar to these lampreys and hagfishes, but they're also having some very quite different features. So due to those quite different features and special features only, they got this name Ostracoderm. And coming to origin, how they originated, from which organisms, from which animals they have originated. Let us see in this slide and next coming slide. So the evolution of fish began about 530 million years ago during the Cambrian explosion. So Cambrian period is one, and I have already took one complete class on this geological time scale. So in that class, we have seen that Cambrian period is one period in the geological time scale. So Cambrian period is very, very important in terms of biological diversity. Why? Because prior to this Cambrian explosion, the diversity of be it animals or be it plants, the diversity was very less. But during the Cambrian period, many different types of animal groups, many different types of plants groups came into existence, on this planet Earth. So that's why the Cambrian period, during the Cambrian period, many different types of, many new groups of animals and plants, they came into existence. That phenomenon is called as Cambrian explosion. So Cambrian explosion is the phenomenon by which different types of many types of new animal groups, many types of new plant groups have originated on the planet Earth. So during this Cambrian explosion only, first fish have been evolved, or first fish has been have originated on the planet Earth. So it was during this time only, during this Cambrian period only, early chordates developed the skull and other vertebral column. So leading to the first craniates and vertebrates. So craniata and vertebrata, both terms are similar. Vertebrata means they are having a vertebrae. Craniata means they are having cranium or skull-like structure in their head. So these first craniates or first vertebrates, they have also developed during this Cambrian explosion period only. And the first fish lineages belong to Aenata. So the first of the fishes, or the first of the vertebrates that took place, that originated, are Aenatans or jawless fish. And some early examples, scientists are believing that early vertebrates are Haiku ectis. So this is Hycuictis. You have to remember this name. This is very, very important name. This is a species early vertebrate. So Hycuictis is the early vertebrate according to the scientist opinion. So during the late Cambrian, eel-like jawless fishes called conodons are also were there. So you have to also remember this conodons. So these conodons are also now extinct. They are not anymore. So these conodons, they look like jawless fish, eel-like jawless fishes. So how the eel fishes will be there. So in appearance, these conodons also will be similar to these eel fishes, and they are jawless fishes. And some mostly armored fish known as Ostracoderms. So Hycuictis and conodons and Ostracoderms. So these are the first vertebrates, first craniates that took that originated on planet Earth during this Cambrian explosion. So most jawless fishes are now extinct, but extant lampreys and hake fishes also, they are approximate ancient pre-jawed fishes. So this lampreys and hake fishes also, they are also very old organisms. They also took origin during this period only, and still they are continuing without much changes. So that we may call them as living fossils also. So this lampreys and hagfish, they belong to Cyclostomata class, and this Cyclostomata class includes this lampreys and hagfishes, and this group may have split early from other Aenathans. So these are this Hycuictis fish, conodons, and Ostracoderms. So all these are Aenathans. So when these Ostracoderms and conodons and Hycuictis fishes originated, during that time only, the cyclostomatans ancestors, they have separated from this other Aenathan, and all other Aenathans have extinct, but this cyclostomata group is still existing. And how the fish have evolved during this period, how the first Aenathans or first vertebrates have evolved or originated, let us see in this slide. So we have studied about this tunicates or Urocardates. Edmania is a tunicate, you know. So common name of Edmania is the sea squirt. So you know how the structure of sea squirt will be. So they look like corals also, the sea squirts, and they are sedentary. So the early fishes are supposed to, or they are, scientists are of opinion that the first fishes have evolved from the sea squirts. We know that retrogressive metamorphosis. So according to this retrogressive metamorphosis, what we have studied, so the larvae is way more developed than the adult. So more developed larvae is developing into a less developed adult. That phenomenon is called as retrogressive metamorphosis. So scientists are of opinion that the first fishes are similar to the larvae of tunicates. So the first ancestors of fish may have kept larval form into adulthood. So as some sea squirts to do today. So some sea squirts are also, they do not undergo retrogressive metamorphosis. They remain they enter into the adult stage by keeping the larval features as such. So like that, some first fish ancestors are also, they have evolved from the larvae of sea squirts, of larvae of what we say Urocardates. But this prediction of scientists cannot be proven. So how this thing happened, we cannot prove that thing. Why? Because all these things have happened some 530 million years ago. So that we cannot prove that thing. And vertebrates among them, the first fishes originated about 530 million years ago during this Cambrian explosion. So which saw the rise in organism diversity. As I have already told it, during this Cambrian explosion, many organisms have, or biodiversity has increased. During this period only, these fishes have been evolved. First ancestors of fish are animals that were probably closely related to fish were Picaia, Hycuictis, and Millocumningia. So these three fishes, Picaia was a excavated, or Picaia was collected by the scientists from China. And Haikuictis, it was recovered or collected from some Europe countries, and Millocumingia. So these three fishes, these three organisms are thought to be the ancestors of first fish. And all these three genera, now these three genera are not living, all these are extinct. So all these three genera appeared around 530 million years ago. So from these three organisms only, like Picaya and Haikuictis and Millocumingia. So these are the ancestors to the less fishes, or ancestors of the vertebrates. So here in this slide, you can see the diagrams of Haikuictis. This is Haikuictis, and this is Picaya. So this Haikuictis and Picaya, these are similar to the cephalocardids. Okay, these are similar to the cephalocardids. Cephalocardids are also called as model cardids. Why? Because they possess all the essential features of cardids in them. So they look similar to cephalocardids in appearance, and actually these are the larval forms, and these larval forms, they have developed into this first vertebrates. Okay, and as we know that these cephalocardids, they possess they possess notocard, but not the vertebral column. So by undergoing some changes, which leads to the development of vertebrae, the ancestors are the Haikuictis picaya, which appear like cyclostomes, which appear like what do we call these cephalocardids and urocardids. Okay, so these are Haikuictis and picaya. Okay, these organisms, these three genera which we have talked about just now, these three genera, they are not vertebrates. Okay, you don't forget this, keep it in mind. So these are not vertebrates, these are acraniates only. They do not possess any vertebral column in them, but these have undergone some changes in them. So due to those changes, vertebrae have been developed in them. So these Haikuictis and Picaya are supposed to be ancestors of these first vertebrae. And Picaya had a primitive notocard. So, and this primitive notocard could have developed into a vertebral column later. So from Picaya, some other organisms came into existence, or some other organisms originated. So the notocard of Picaya has converted into vertebral column in the new organisms. Like that in Haikuictis and in other thing also, the same thing happened. So unlike the other fauna that dominated the Cambrian, these groups had the basic vertebrate body plan. So during the Cambrian period, many different types of animal groups and plant groups have came into existence. But all these animal groups, most of them are invertebrates only. But these fishes, these new fishes, these picaya like thing, or this Haikuictis like thing. Okay, all these were having the basic vertebrate body plan. So during this Cambrian period, vertebrates were in minority in terms of number, in terms of diversity also. So what were the most dominating animals during that period? They are vertebrates. And they also have a notocard, rudimentary vertebrae, and a well-defined head and tail also was present in them. So all of these early vertebrates lacked jaws in common sense. So that's why we have placed them in jawless vertebrates, or Aenata. And they relied on filter feeding close to the seabed. So they are supposed to live on the seabed, so near to the seabed, and they were they were adapted to the filter feeding type of life. So as they do not have jaws, they cannot eat food. So due to the absence of jaws, they have adapted to filter feeding type of nutrition. And coming to the salient feature. So till now, what we have to remember, what is important is that, so these first vertebrates have evolved during this Cambrian period. Okay, so and the first vertebrates are thought to develop from the larvae of the acraniates, like urocardate larvae or cephalocardate larvae. And the first vertebrates, are the ancestor vertebrates, are these three groups according to scientific opinion: Hycriactis picaya, and the third one is Millocunmingia. So these three are the ancestor fishes, and these are these are thought of the ancestors to this Ostracoderms also. So the Ostracoderms, so what are the ancestors of the Ostracoderms? Ancestors of the Ostracoderms are ancestors of the all vertebrates. Even we can say that this Picaya and Hycriactis and Millocunmingia are also ancestors to human beings. Why? Because we also belong to this Craniata group only. So these are also ancestors to, these are ancestors to us also. So these are three groups. Okay, these three groups are the ancestors to this Ostracoderms and all other vertebrates. So these coming to salient features of Ostracoderms, they are primitive vertebrates. They were small to medium in size, and their form was like a fish-like structure. And usually they used to have dorso-ventrally flattened bodies, and they also used to have a huge head, big heads, and the gill region also was present. But the end, or posterior end, was tapering, and middle trunk was muscular, and some sort of tail fin also was present in them. So they used to have tail fins and very muscular trunk, and a huge head and gill region, and tapering posterior end, on which they used to have some tail fin also. And they didn't have any jaws, and no pectoral fins and pelvic fins. Present fishes are having pectoral and pelvic fins, but these earliest are primitive vertebrates, Ostracoderms, they do not possess any pectoral and pelvic fins. They used to have only median fins. And these vertebrates, earliest vertebrates, they were bony and heavily armored. So this is very, very special, unique feature, having armored structures on them. So this is a typical vertebrate, the typical Ostracoderm. This is Cephalaspis. So the major, a very important unique feature of the Ostracoderms is that they used to possess many different types of shield-like structures on their head and their body. So due to the presence of these shield-like structures only, they got this name Ostracoderms. So Ostraco means some shield-like or armor-like structures, and derma means the skin. So the skin was covered with many shield-like structures. So the shield-like structures, they used to give protection to the animal. So the bony plates, so the shield-like structures are armored plates or bony plates. They are of bony material in structure. So these bony plates and scales of this Ostracoderms were well preserved. So scientists have collected these bony plates only. So why? Because all remaining body parts, they are very soft tissue body parts, so they will disintegrate. We cannot collect them. But these bony plates, as they are very hard structures, we can get them. And the head was covered with a solid shield-like thing made up of many broad bony dermal plates. Remaining body will be used to be surrounded by a series of small plates, and these small plates are called as dermal scales. And this presence of these bony plates and dermal scales led to the names Ostracoderms, or in common language we call them as armored fishes or bony skinned animals. So these Ostracoderm has this term has originated from two Greek words, ostrakon, that means shell, and derma means skin. So these are the different types of different groups come under this Ostracoderm. So Ostracoderm is a class. So in this class, different orders were there: Heterostraci, Arandaspida, and Thelodonta, and these two also Thelodont, and Anaspida, Pituraspida, Galeaspida, and Osteostraci. So Osteostraci 1, Heterostraci 2, Arandaspida 3, and Thelodonta or Thelodonti 4, and Anaspida 5, and Pituraspida 6, and Galeaspida 7. So these are the different 7 different groups of orders that come under this thing. So each group used to have a very different type of bony structures on their surfaces, on their skins. So in this diagram also, we can see that only head bones or head shields are seen are showing in this slide. So different groups are having different types of shield structure. So they were very diverse. They were having very diverse bony plates on their surfaces. So the heavy exoskeleton served as a protection against the giant scorpion-like arthropods of that period. And these giant scorpion-like arthropods are called as eurytherids. So in this slide, in this diagram, you can see that they are scorpion-like. They just look like present-day scorpions, but they are very big in size. Even they are bigger than our size. So they are very monstrous organisms. So they belong to Arthropoda phylum, and they are called as eurytherids. So eurytherids were the major predators. So dominant species in the seas during that Cambrian period and Ordovician period and Silurian period. So during these three periods, these eurytherids were dominated species on the planet Earth, especially in the waters. Why? Because vertebrates have not developed till then. So during that time only the first vertebrates came into existence. So, and we can predict that no major form of life has living on the terrestrial habitats during these periods, Cambrian, Ordovician, and Silurian periods. So on land, there was no major type of animals were living on land habitats or terrestrial habitats. So life was confined to water only. Life was during these periods, Cambrian, Ordovician, and Silurian period. Life, especially animals, were confined to these aquatic habitats only. And during these periods, the major dominant animal was eurytherids. They appear like a scorpion, and these were the predators. They used to eat all the small size organisms. So to escape from these organisms, these ostracoderms, and the next coming topic is placoderms. So these ostracoderms and placoderms, they have developed some protection skeleton like structures on their skins. So that's why this exoskeleton served the purpose of protection from these giant scorpion like eurytherids. Later, when these enemies disappeared, so after this Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian periods passed away, so in the next periods, these eurytherids, they became extinct. So when these eurytherids disappeared, what happened? These jawed descendants came from these jawless vertebrates. So jawless vertebrates have gave birth to jawed vertebrates. So these jawed vertebrates, they also lost their heavy armor. Why? Because as the eurytherids are not living anymore, so they do not require this exoskeleton protection. So that's why the organisms which came from these jawless vertebrates from ostracoderms, so now they are called as jawed vertebrates or primitive gnathostomatans. So they also lost this heavy armor. Why? Because having this heavy armor is an obstacle. We can imagine that even in this COVID time also, we are unable to wear just the polythene sheets, polythene covers on our bodies. So like doctors are wearing this total protection kits, PPE kits. So having a very thin polythene sheets on our body also is causing a lot of discomfort to us. Then we can imagine how the situation of those armored fishes was during that period. So having this heavy skeleton on the upper surface of the body is literally it's a very problematic thing. But to survive from these scorpion-like organisms, they were forced to have this exoskeleton. So when these organisms they disappeared from planet Earth, the descendants of these organisms also they do not require them anymore. So that the later fishes, jawed fishes, which come from these ostracoderms, have lost them also. And these ostracoderms, they used to have a big head. We have already discussed that. And on their head, they used to have a pair of large lateral eyes. So this is another special feature. So eyes were on the lateral sides. So a large lateral eyes and a median pineal eye also was there on the top of the head. And a single median nostril was located anterior to this pineal eye. So usually nostrils will be 2 in number, but here these organisms are possessing only a single median nostril. and the mouth was anteroventral. So this was on the anterior end of the body and on ventral position. So anteroventral in position, and this mouth is a small slit and without any jaws on it. The teeth are also absent in these organisms. Teeth will be in those organisms which possess jaws only. So when jaws are there, then only teeth will be present. If jaws are not there, then there is no question of having teeth. So the gill slits were round in structure, in shape, and all these gills gill slits, they used to have similar gill pouches, which are similar to present day fishes. And sensory fields on head were probably part of the lateral line system. So they used to possess some sensory fields on their heads, and present day fishes, they are having lateral line system. So how the lateral line system is helping these organisms? In the same way, the sensory fields which were present on the heads of those ostracoderms also serve the same purpose. So this is the typical cephalaspis ostracoderm. And flattened body was flattened, and feeble fins. Fins are not a big in size, and they are not very strong structures. They are very feeble or weakly developed, poorly developed structures. And these two features, flattened body and feeble fins, they suggest that they were probably bottom dwellers. So we can say firmly that the organisms which live on the bottoms, they usually have a dorsoventrally flattened bodies. So the organisms which swim in the waters and surface waters, they used to have laterally compressed bodies. So as many of the fossils, they were suspected to have a flattened body. So scientists came to the conclusion that they were bottom dwellers. So we cannot say clearly that in which type of ecological niche they used to live. So why? Because we just obtain only bony plates. Apart from bony plates, we did not get any part of them. So that's why through this indirect evidences only, scientists come to many conclusions. So, and all the bottom dwellers, and as they do not have jaws and as they do not have teeth, definitely they will be dependent on filter feeding. So most lower chordates are also, so all these things like Urochordates, sea squirts, all those are also bottom dwellers. They live on the surface of the seas. So those are all the bottom dwellers. They present the bottom dwellers are also, they also showing this filter feeding mechanism. And very little is known about this ostracoderm internal anatomy, but because internally only small remnants of the vertebral column have been received. Apart from that, no other body structures were not obtained, and we cannot obtain them forever. So that internal anatomy, regarding in this internal anatomy, we do not know much of these organisms. And the endoskeleton was moderately ossified. So only we received some, and scientists received only endoskeleton fossils. So, and this endoskeleton used to have moderately ossified structure. And they are not very hard bony structures. So they are moderately ossified bony structures. And they had no axial skeleton or vertebrae. So vertebrae also was not, or endoskeleton, axial endoskeleton also was not present on those, in those organisms. And an internal ear with two semi-circular canals was present in these organisms. So, and in this slide, we can see some examples of these ostracoderms. This is Drepanaspis, and this is Hemicyclaspis, and this is Cephalaspis, and this is also Cephalaspis. And biological significance of this ostracoderm. So they lack earlier vertebrate fossils, shows that they had perhaps evolved in a habitat, freshwater. So this is the suspicion of the scientists, which was inimical to fossilization. So in freshwater bodies, fossilization is not possible. During this sea waters only, fossilization is possible. So many fossils were recovered from this sea waters only. So in fresh waters, we cannot good fossils. We cannot find good fossils. So that's why scientists are believing that the first vertebrates or earlier vertebrates have evolved in fresh water. That's why only we are not able to get many fossils of them. So it is also likely that the earliest ancestors lacked hard skeletal materials as bones. So as they also may not having this hard materials, hard skeletal materials also, we are not getting many skeletons of those things. So the answer, we skip now. So the Ostracoderms had developed heavy bony armor perhaps to survive against these attacks of these Uritarian predators of those times. And after the disappearance of these giant arachnids or Uritarians, the descendants of Ostracoderms, cyclostomes, also they have lost these heavy armors, which was a hindrance in rapid progression. So having this heavy armor stops them in swim rapidly, swim actively. So that's why the successors, they lost these structures. And the ostracoderms are especially interesting because they represent the oldest known vertebrate fossils in the late Cambrian and Ordovician rocks, and which date back to nearly 500 million years period. And they are the remote ancestors of all vertebrates, including man. So the microscopic studies of these bony tissues of these organisms reveals that they are having a great complexity of structure. So this is important in terms of that vertebrates were far advanced and these ostracoderms are very far advanced and they had undergone a considerable period of evolution before becoming fossilized. So as all the fossils, they are showing a very great complex type of structures in them. So we can say clearly that they evolved, they survived for a long period of time on the planet Earth. So such a long period of time only will give enough time for this type of advanced structures in their bony parts, bony structures. And the cartilage of cyclostomes and sharks and skates was previously considered as a precursors to bone and more primitive. So according to previous opinion of the scientists, so chondrichthyes fishes are the first fishes, are most primitive fishes. But as we have got these ostracoderm fossils and all these ostracoderms, they are possessing the bony-like structure in their skeleton or in their dermal plates. So now scientists' opinion has been changed that since the ostracoderms have bony skeleton, bone is now considered more primitive structure than the cartilage. So the cartilage is interpreted as a degenerate condition. So this is the significance of this ostracodermy. So with this, we have finished this topic, and in next class we will discuss another topic.